Welcome to today's Explainer. Today, we're officially putting on our critical literary biographer hats to investigate an absolute masterclass in uncovering hidden family legacies. We are diving deep into Casa Nova, the architecture of silence. And listen, we aren't just talking about a story featuring a dusty old house here. We're dissecting the actual architectural blueprint of a completely gripping narrative. It's a journey into how one woman transitions from inheriting this suffocating heavy silence to becoming a proactive architect of the truth. It's terrifying, it's beautiful, so let's jump right into the foundation of this incredible saga.
Here is the schematic for our analysis today. We're going to cover the 36-chapter blueprint, the inheritance of silence, decoding hidden symbols, the institutional weight of erasure, and finally, becoming the architect of truth.
All right, let's kick things off with part 1, the 36-chapter blueprint that forms the novel's foundation.
36. Why exactly 36? Well, as a literary biographer, I find this incredibly deliberate. You see, this rigorous external structure essentially acts as a pressure cooker for the messy internal grief the characters are experiencing. It creates this metronomic ticking clock. It's literally an architectural suspense that propels you forward. By confining this massive, sprawling family history into exactly 36 chapters, the narrative rhythm forces this amazing balance between quiet, intimate moments of loss and a rapidly escalating, almost thriller-like tension. Every single chapter is engineered to have both an outer plot movement and a deeply resonant inner emotional shift.
If we trace those emotional shifts across the first 3 acts, it reveals Lucia's profound internal evolution. In Act 1, she arrives at Casa Nova wrapped in this heavy, visceral reluctance. She does not want to deal with this deep family wound, She just wants to look away. But then, that reluctance gives way in Act 2 to a frantic, obsessive ethical obligation. She discovers a scattered bloodline and is completely compelled to act, physically tracking descendants through places like Leon. And then finally, Act 3 forces her out of the realm of abstract research and into the very real, tangible danger of naming the truth. It's a terrifying escalation from private, quiet grief to massive, public consequence.
Moving right along to part 2, inheriting an architecture of silence and the psychological trap it creates.
Let's keep our critical researcher hats on for a second, because we really have to examine the generational power dynamics at play here. This is a massive clash of ideologies. On one side, we have Gino and his generation. They weaponized a highly restrictive, deeply curated silence. They claim to prioritize preservation, but honestly, as researchers, we know that preservation in this context really just meant control. It was entirely about keeping the power centralized. On the other side, we have Lucia's messy, disruptive, and evolving agency. She fundamentally realizes that exposing these secrets and demanding total transparency isn't a betrayal of the family at all. In fact, it's an absolute necessity for protecting the future of the bloodline itself.
Listen to this totally chilling philosophy from Casa Nova. A room should not appear decorated. It should appear to have arrived at its final form by the force of its own logic. Now, superficially, he was talking about furniture. But as a critical researcher, we know exactly what he's really managing here: family history. It is the absolute perfect encapsulation of managerial erasure. It's a legacy organized not to preserve the truth, but to carefully, systematically limit access to it. He makes omissions, lies, and missing family members look like natural, unquestionable necessity.
Okay, part 3, decoding the symbols of secrecy hidden right inside Casa Nova.
It's so fascinating how everyday objects in this house evolve from decorative masks into practical and honestly often dangerous tools of power. Take the Blue Ledger. It starts out looking like a totally boring book of ordinary estate accounts. You open it expecting math, but it reveals itself as a custodial catalog of hidden lives and buried parentage. Then there's the heirloom key. You'd think a massive secret society would hide the key to their archive in some subterranean vault, right? No! It's shoved under the felt lining of an everyday umbrella stand. It's a perfect, almost absurd metaphor for hiding explosive secrets in plain sight. And finally, the lanterns, which begin as symbols of concealed past secrets within an old painting, eventually transform into a shared working light for the future.
Unlocking that archive brings us to what is arguably the most pivotal concept in the narrative, the fifth frequency. Now, I know that sounds like a mystical prophecy, but it's not. It is defined structurally as a burden of relation. Think of the fifth frequency like a tuning fork. It's the exact moment two distant relatives who have absolutely zero institutional paper trail connecting them look at each other and the shared history just resonates right in their bones. It's a dispersed bloodline becoming humanly legible before a single document is ever even signed. It proves that inheritance is a living, breathing network.
Which naturally brings us to part 4,
the institutional weight of erasure.
Because, of course, unearthing a living network is going to trigger some major alarms. The very second Lucia uncovers the parentage secret of Stella Lucia, an antagonist network based in Rome led by Cardinal Verrocchio retaliates. And the sheer bureaucratic horror of this is what makes it so gripping. They don't send hitmen, they send paperwork. They use remote digital traces to completely corrupt archives, they launch coercive guardianship inquiries to legally trap vulnerable descendants, and they utilize surveillance and reputational attacks. They hide their moral panic behind the terrifyingly bloodless euphemism of domestic erasure. It really highlights the crushing weight of institutions dedicated to maintaining a curated silence, choosing red tape over a smoking gun every single time.
Right in the middle of this completely wild bureaucratic siege, Lucia is forced to confront the core moral dilemma of the text: what must be named and what can still be protected. When does silence stop protecting people and actually start destroying them? It's a question that extends way beyond the walls of Casa Nova. Just think about it for a second. Have you ever had to choose between keeping the peace in your own family and telling a necessary, perhaps destructive truth? She has to weigh the immediate safety of remaining hidden against the absolute moral necessity of naming the trauma that has controlled her bloodline for generations.
And that brings us to our final section, Part 5, Becoming the Architect of Truth and Lucia's Ultimate Transformation.
Answering that heavy moral question requires a massive leap of courage, and we can really map the psychology of her complete transformation here. She starts out as a skeptical outsider. She's just passively sorting through family debris, actively wanting nothing to do with Casa Nova's ghosts. But the tuning fork of that fifth frequency forces her to cross the threshold. She becomes a proactive seeker, physically knocking on doors in Lyon, actively tracking down the scattered bloodlines. And finally, having witnessed the devastating cost of silence firsthand, she completely transforms into the conscious architect of a new lineage.
This transformation culminates in an absolute masterstroke of brilliant irony. She redefines the physical house itself. She replaces the old architecture of omission with a legitimate, totally public-facing structure, literally putting up a sign that says Casa Nova Productions, Archive Consultation and Cultural Materials Office. She takes the exact same institutional, bureaucratic legitimacy that the Cardinal used against her, and she flips it. It is the ultimate checkmate. She creates a safe, transparent space designed specifically to gather descendants, completely reversing the house's original purpose from withholding truth to facilitating it.
And that brings us beautifully back around to the lanterns. In the final chapters, during their first real gathering, they don't use the grand, imposing chandeliers of Gino's era. No, they use small, battery-powered lanterns. As the text notes, it provides light enough to see by, low enough not to blind, shared rather than enthroned. It is such a stunning visual metaphor. Just let that linger for a moment. It is a truth that is finally distributed equally among the living, rather than hoarded and ruled by the dead.
So we're left with this incredibly powerful realization. Inheritance ends when authorship begins. Lucia teaches us that we are never just passive recipients of our family's history, no matter how heavy, bureaucratic, or silent it might be. We actually have the agency to change the blueprint. So I want to leave you with a question as we wrap up this explainer. How will you choose to construct your own future records? How will you build the legacy of the truths you inherit? Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive. Keep questioning the architecture around you and never stop seeking the truth.
When morning touched the silent rose, I saw your light appear, and all the world I used to know grew softer with you near. You came to me like golden dawn, across a waiting sky, and where your gentle hands would rest, my restless heart could fly. Your voice became hymn, speak your name. For you are all my sweetest truth, the dream I journeyed for. And if love lives in any heart, then mine is forever yours. No jewel could ever hold the fire I find within your eyes. No faithful star above the earth could shine with such surprise. And if the bloom should leave the field, if songs no longer soar, my soul would still return to you and love you all the more. Stay with me through summer stars, through winter's fading flame. If all the world should change its face, my heart will speak your name. For you are all my sweetest truth, the dream I journeyed for. And if love lives in any heart, then mine is forever yours. Let time be slow, let night be long, let years undo the day. Still I would cross the dark for you and never turn away. For grace was only just a word until you made it true. And every prayer I could not speak found its answer, love, in you. So stay with me through summer stars, through winter's silver flame. Though worlds may fade and seasons turn, my heart will keep your name. For you are all my sweetest truth, the dream I journeyed for. And if love lives in any heart, then mine is forever yours. When morning finds the rose again, and light returns once more, I will be here, and I will say, my heart is yours, my heart is yours.